So first of all, let's talk about sleep. So what is sleep? Well, we all know sleep. We've, all experienced it probably within the last 12 hours. So we know what sleep is about, and we know, that we feel better when we sleep more deeply and restfully. We kind of don't have such a good time when we don't have a good night's sleep. So we all are pretty much aware of those facts, right? But what happens when we sleep? Well, the first thing that happens, and why do we go into this restful state, and then why do we sort of close our eyes and go deeper and deeper and deeper and sort of lose consciousness, right? So what's that about, and how does that work? Well, it turns out that you can, let's say, analyze that quite a bit by brain frequency and brainwave patterns. And so what happens when we're normally awake, when we're awake and alert, we have very active brainwave patterns, and these active brainwave patterns you can think of as a very strong frequency. As we begin to relax and as we begin to calm down, again, this frequency gets basically lower. So the frequency gets lower, which means the peaks aren't as close together. And as we get into a very deep and restful sleep, you'll see that the frequency gets very, very low, even less than 1 kilohertz at certain times. And so that's pretty low. The fundamental frequency of the earth is about 7.8, I think, hertz. It's the Schumann resonance. So you guys can look that up and correct me in the comments if I got it wrong. That'll be a fun exercise. But I think it's about 7.8 hertz. And so that is the frequency of the earth. That's sort of, the earth is always ringing, to that tune, let's say. And we're above that sometimes, but as we sleep, we come below that even sometimes. So we sort of, as far as our consciousness and where our frequency is, we bang around that number. But the interesting thing about this graph is, well, what happens if we increase frequency? What happens if our frequency increases in our brain and our brain waves? And that's kind of an interesting thought. So if one way puts us to sleep, would the other way increase our function in some way, which is kind of a cool thought. But anyway, as we go to sleep, so our brain slows down. Our brain patterns slow down, sort of how we're functioning, our fundamental frequency slows down. The other thing that happens inside of us is a lot of body processes, a lot of, like, let's say, repair and restorative processes, our immune system, all that begin to really light up at night and when we sleep. So again, if we're not having restful sleep, if we're awake, if our brain isn't in that relaxed and restful state where the rest of our body can kind of take over, then we're not going to do some things as well as we might under other circumstances. So when we look at the endocrine system, basically what happens is we're making certain hormones at certain times. So we all know about melatonin, right? So we know about melatonin, and melatonin is kind of the thing that we would take to sleep. Well, it turns out that melatonin, if you take it during the middle of the day, it won't have much of an effect on you because your receptors are closed. Your melatonin receptors, the thing that you need to receive melatonin, the catcher's mitt, let's say, to the baseballs, there's no mitt. There's nothing to catch those baseballs. So if you take melatonin during the day, really nothing's going to happen. If you take it during the night, again, it will have an effect. It's not something that you want to take, though, necessarily, because your body makes it. It's better to figure out how to stimulate your body to make more of it than to supplement with melatonin. Just FYI. The hormones and steroids you really don't want to get in the middle of. What you want to do is figure out the mechanisms as to what's going on in your body, why it wouldn't be producing certain things or why it's overproducing certain things, and then you want to get in the middle of that. And that's what we do. We look for more the cause of things. So, what is the cause of not sleeping well? Well, there could be lots of causes to that, but sugar is a big cause of that, believe it or not. So anyway, but your hormones, this is your endocrine system. So just showing a quick graph of the endocrine system and kind of the highest times for circulating endocrines. And so you can see that, insulin is kind of during the day, but most of the stuff is during the night. So you have most of your endocrine activity at night. And that goes to basically your organs and how you're running and controlling your organs. So we're doing a lot with our organs at night. We're doing a lot, in systems at night, even though we're not aware of it. We might be somewhere else. But I kind of think that we are two things in this reality, okay? So we're a wonderful, multi-dimensional, beautiful soul, spirit, however you want to look at that. But we are this, godly incarnation here on earth, sort of driving this physical thing, right? And this physical thing, again, it's a collection of cells, right? So we need to look at, right now, systematically, we look at ourselves as this unit. Well, we kind of are that, right? So I look at you like a human unit, but you're really not just a human unit. You're a collection of cells. And those collection of cells all have to talk to each other. You're like a system, right? So you're like a big, cellular system. And all those cells have to communicate with each other. They have to understand what each other are doing. So there has to be sophistication in your vehicle. There has to be some intelligence in your vehicle. It's a wonderfully, created, if it was, I believe it is, created thing. But again, it's not, you're something else. You're, a beautiful soul or incarnated spirit. So anyway, this vehicle, let's say that we're driving, I never got an owner's manual. I don't know about you guys, but I never got an owner's manual as to how to drive or operate or take care of or maintain this vehicle. And frankly, the stuff that we're taught out there is just flat ass crap. So it's kind of up to us to figure it out, to ferret through the junk, and to figure out what makes sense or not. And so that's, again, what I try to do for you guys, or help you guys do, is educate you along those lines. Okay.